Front Row MMA here at UTC with Steve Allen. We're about a week out from your fight at I believe you're at Rage for the Cage as well, September 15th up in Stoke, and you're fighting John Roscoe. It's the first time we've met. How long have you been in MMA? How long have you been fighting?
I've been fighting in MMA about 2 years now.
And pro, semi-pro, the whole kit and caboodle?
I've had some interclub fights, Thai fights. I've done some grappling, submission. So this will be my first MMA.
Debut in the cage at full MMA. Is it at the semi-pro rule set?
There's no ground and pound on the floor. So yeah.
2 years of, you said Thai training, so I imagine the striking element of the game is an element you enjoy, or am I wrong there? Is it the grappling you love?
I love it all.
Yeah.
I love it all. I like the brutal nature of the Thai, and I like the almost technical and chess aspect of like grappling on the floor. So it's a thinking man's game as well as almost being an animal. Yeah,
an animal that has to constantly think all the time. What would you say your biggest strength as a fighter is?
I think my strength and my weakness is my strength.
Okay. In terms of how it might affect your cardio and things like that, or?
Strong on the floor, but also tight and strong standing, and maybe sometimes you've got to be a bit loose standing, and I tend to be a bit strong. So I always look at things, strengths and weaknesses. So.
Were you doing any kind? Were you doing sort of? You said Thai boxing a couple of years ago, and you started. Was that? How long have you been doing sort of any kind of martial art? Is it something you've been doing for a long time?
I used to do judo, and I used to box for Aston Villa when I was smaller. And then I just found rugby league and rugby union, and I've had years of pleasure from rugby. I played for Great Britain students rugby league, and I played quite a high level at rugby union.
So you're not afraid of smash mouth sport
and whatever? Yeah, that's.
And what was it about MMA then that sort of sucked you in? Is it the fact that you get to, it's that amalgamation of all that skill set, and you have to be able to transition from one technique to the next? What was it that sort of grabbed you about the MMA?
Going back to rugby, team game, played it, been involved with some very successful sides, coached it at a national level, coached some England sides. What I had from that was no real recollection of what it felt like to be an individual fighting in an individual sport, and so it's making that connection between how do you feel in a team game, how do you coach in a team game, and then going down to an individual level, because at the end of the day you've only got yourself to blame in the MMA game. If you lose, you made the wrong decision somewhere along the line, or your prep wasn't right, but it's you. You can have your fight team around you, but when the ref says, right, now time to fight, it's you, and you've got to man up. And that in itself, I think, would make me as a sportsman be able to talk to other people about preparation for sport, how they feel.
It's really interesting because you draw the comparison between, there's people look at MMA and they would assume almost straight away that it's an individual sport, but it is so much more to it than that. And how important is the team around you leading up to it, and especially UTC? What do they bring to you?
Immensely. We've got a Thai specialist, we've got a grappling specialist, we've got a wrestling specialist, and if it wasn't for them, then my game would suffer, because every one of them has put a footprint in the way in which I fight. And we've got gold medalists, we've got world champions, we've got people who are currently fighting, and that is invaluable, absolutely invaluable.
We'll talk about your fight coming up. I spent some time trying to find anything I could on John Roscoe, and unfortunately I could find nothing. How do you prepare for somebody that it's really difficult to get sort of any kind of tape, or how do you prepare for that, or is it just about your own game?
I'm focusing on my own game. If I did know something about him, it would be historic, because I'm sure that fighter would have prepared and trained so that they didn't make the same kind of mistakes, or they may be training or preparing for a different kind of fight to what may have lured you into that he's think he's going to fight. So I think when you focus on somebody else, it's like when you focus on other teams. Yes, they'll have a strength, and it's nice to know that, but my preparation is focused around me. It's about me making weight, it's about my stand-up game, it's about my take-up game, it's about my grappling on the floor.
And first semi-pro fight, it goes the way that you expect. Is this can we expect to see you fight another time this year, or are you going to take your time and just see how the dice lay, as it were? Do you want to stay active, I guess, is the question?
I definitely want to stay active, and if a fight comes along, then that's great. But I'd relish at the ground and pound. I'd look forward to that, because that takes it to another level. Because your submission game gets turned on its head, so to speak. There's a lot more opportunities, so it's different, and it makes different cardio demands. So it's another part of the game that at the moment I haven't faced, and I'm always asking myself, or setting myself little challenges.
I'm presuming that you train part-time, work full-time?
Yes, that's right.
How difficult is that? Where does the discipline to want to get into the gym after a long day of work come from? Because, quite frankly, I'm not sure I could do it. I like my donuts, I like my beer, and I like watching the guys fight. Where would you say that discipline came from?
I've had it since I was 16, 17, and I've always had it. More disciplined with my diet now. So that's, I'm finding, where some men might find getting to the gym hard, I'm finding being disciplined in my diet, and I've learned to respect diet and the role of diet in physical performance more.
Is that something that sort of you picked up here, or is that from your rugby league? Because of course nutritionists in sport all the time.
Working for Team England, we had nutritionists, we had sports psychs, other peripheral aspects of the sport. But in here, that's what you talk about. The lads don't go for beer, they don't go for a massive curry, or it's very much you're into your game. What are you eating? How are you doing? You've got to make weight. How much you got to lose, or and it's much. Are you going to lose a substantial amount of weight before you fight, or are you going to do it gradually? And what do you want to be walking around at? What do you mean walking around? Because then you know how to cut.
I won't ask for a prediction, because it's not fair to ask fighters for a prediction. But what can people expect from your fight? What are you going to bring to the cage for the fan, as it were? What can they expect out of one of your fights? Are you quite a cerebral fighter? Are you a bull at a gate? What can the fan expect from you? Without asking how you're going to win, or if you're going to win, because I don't think that's fair. But how would you describe yourself as a fighter?
I think as a cognitive, there is definitely a cognitive element there. I'd like to think it through.
A thinking man.
Because at the end of the day, we can all be bulls at gates. Two men can go head to head. I've been in and around UTC Birmingham for 2 years now, and I think it would be a compliment to those that have helped me to get here, and who have had faith and have allowed me to fight, to represent UTC Birmingham. I'd like to make sure that first and foremost I represent a good fight. And when I say good, what I mean by that is an intelligent fight that uses MMA techniques rather than just a street brawl or a pub brawl or something like that.
As it's the first fight, and I know I hope I'm not setting the commentator's curse, but as it's the first fight, is the win more important than a good performance, than a solid performance, or is the win everything? It's a tough question.
Ask me that question next time.
I shall. I want to thank you very, very much for your time. Is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to? Anybody you'd like to thank? Training partners, partner at home, for putting up with the moods and the weight cut or what have you? Anybody? This is the opportunity to.
Hi guys, I'd just like to thank everybody at UTC. Asim, Silk, Richard, Yannick, Andrew. I'd like to thank all of you for helping me get to where I am. and I hope I do you proud on Saturday night. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much, Steve. We wish you the best of luck in the debut fight. I hope it goes the way you want it to, and we look forward to chatting with you again, because I'll ask that question next time we meet.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for your
Cheers.
time.